أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. All praise and thanks is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send peace and salutations upon our beloved Prophet Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family, his friends and all those who follow him up until the day of Qiyamah. Ameen ya Rabb al-Alameen. We apologize for the delayed start, and I'm just also ensuring that everything is up and running, inshallah ta'ala. Waiting for confirmation. Khair, inshallah ta'ala. So أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا، اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا ويرفعنا، اللهم اجعل أعمالنا كلها خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. All praise and thanks is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send peace and salutations upon our beloved Prophet Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family, his friends and all those who follow him up until the day of Qiyamah. Ameen ya Rabb al-Alameen. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the opportunity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us to once again benefit from the opportunity of coming together and connecting and focusing on our preparation for the holy month of Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it a month that is filled with khair, and a month that through which we not only draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but inshallah ta'ala earn our eternal success bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we pick up where we left off, and just do a quick recap. So what happened is that we covered intention in the very beginning, and we spoke about being deliberate in our intention, being clear in our intention, and that is we spoke about having the intention to change. We spoke about having the intention to be different. We spoke about having the intention to benefit. Many a times we attend something and we have an idea that inshallah, we're going to benefit and so on and so forth, but we have to have that intention to benefit bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So So it's important for us to understand that we have this deliberate intention and plan. Then we spoke about planning. And we also mentioned that with regards to planning, we have to be deliberate in terms of our planning as well. Bi-idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we planned, and we spoke about having a sheet of paper and splitting it up and including what we want to have added to our lives, to our character, to our homes, to our marriages, our relationships, good habits. Also then we added what would we like to remove step by step. And the process we spoke about was we spoke about having these steps that we have, and then one at a time moving through them. Not taking one per day, but taking one, ensuring that it has become part of our lives, and then moving on. So the important thing is to understand that you only have this chance before Ramadan to prepare for Ramadan. Once Ramadan starts, it's about making the most of the month of Ramadan. And it is the two is tied in together. To make the most out of Ramadan, the preparation for Ramadan is important. And although we are but moments away from the month of Ramadan, not months anymore, we were started with the dua, Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. We had months between us and the month of Ramadan. And then the dua adjusted slightly in the month of Sha'ban. And then we said, Allahumma barik lana fi Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. We still make the dua, oh Allah, bless us in what remains of this month of Sha'ban and grant us to reach the month of Ramadan. So only moments away from Ramadan, the excitement is building. And we have this mindset of preparing for the month of Ramadan. It is important for us to understand, and we take into consideration that this is going to be a very different month of Ramadan. A month that none of us know how it is going to be, what experiences we are going to have, because everything is different. All of the circumstances are different. The masajid, which become the hub of many of the good that we do in the month of Ramadan, is closed down. We're not allowed to be there. We are under lockdown and we have to stay within our homes. It might change during the month of Ramadan, but at least for this is the situation we are going to find ourselves in. So we can choose to what type of people we want to be. We can choose, do we want to be of those who are complaining just about the fact that Ramadan is not the same, you can't go to the masjid, you can't get the same feelings, you can't be in the same jama'ahs, groups. We have our groups that used to gather for dhikrs and so on and so forth, and just complain and make that the excuse behind why our Ramadan is not what our Ramadans used to be, or what we think our Ramadan could be. But important to understand that it is a different Ramadan, and this Ramadan could be the best of our Ramadans. This Ramadan could be the best of our Ramadans. It is a time where we should lessen the time we spend with things regarding the dunya. And amongst those things regarding the dunya is social interaction. So the point I want to leave us, or the point I want to take home from this lesson, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the first one we're going to make this evening, is that of our what do we lessen and what do we increase on. So again, a quick recap. The first week was about having that intention, being deliberate in terms of our intention. I want to change, I want to make a difference, I want to benefit, and to have that on our minds all the time. Because then even if a day comes where perhaps you make Fajr Salah and you're done and you're making adhkar, whatever it may be, and you decide to go take a nap and you sleep longer than expected. So you maybe had the idea, okay, I'm going to read so much before Dhuhr or whatever, but you end up sleeping long most of the morning. Most of the morning after your Fajr and your adhkar, and then you took a nap and you ended up sleeping most of the morning. Now you didn't maybe cover what you thought you were going to cover, but the mindset is, okay, I want to benefit, I want to make the most of it. So whatever I have left of this day, I'm going to capitalize. Whatever I have left, I'm going to optimize. I'm going to do the best I can. I've slept well, which means I recharged, which means this, that, and the other. It doesn't mean I sleep well, my routine is out, my day is thrown over. We can pick. Because at the end of the day, when we find ourselves in a space like that, most of the time the circumstances are out of our control. A day when you oversleep, a day when you just get busy with a task for too long. So those things happen. But if we have that mindset, it's going to carry us. Then we start planning, the importance of planning our days, planning our times, having set measurable, attainable goals. Not to say every day if I've never even read one. I'm not saying don't aim for as much as you can. I am saying is focus on doing a maintainable, a manageable, a sustainable amount in terms of our adhkar, our salah. Because today in the lesson we're going to speak about a secret. We're going to mention a secret. I'm not going to mention now, I'm going to mention it a bit later. That is very important. It's not really a secret, but I mean just something we need to focus on when the month of Ramadan starts already. Right? And the first point we're going to take is, what do we listen and what do we increase? Right intentions, the deliberate actions with the planning. What do we increase and what do we listen? Right? So look at, and we be one of the best Ramadans we have. Because one of the elements that need to be listened, to listen, is our time. And I'm not speaking about people maybe sitting together for these things. No, I'm talking about connecting for the simple reason of socializing. Connecting on a social level. I'm not saying it can't happen. What I'm saying is, on the month of Ramadan, we have to consciously choose that. If we would spend most of the day hooking up with friends, walking and this and that, this lockdown, this Ramadan isolation gives us the opportunity to have things sorted for us already. So we shouldn't be seeking out ways and means to connect simply for the social element. Yes, it's healthy to keep in touch with the family, check up on the friends here and there, but we shouldn't have it in such a way that we get carried away with it. Because again, we shouldn't be counting our Ramadan as 30 days. We should be counting every moment of Ramadan as a moment that we can never ever get again. And we mentioned in the very first class that we did that there's two companions, or those two people that the companions of Rasulullah ﷺ met and had a dream about, that the one entered Jannah before, even though the other one died a shaheed, was simply because he had another year of life, which means he had another Ramadan, and he had another opportunity to do much more good, more and more opportunities. So we faced with this opportunity. So again, listening, and when we're increasing on certain things, remember it's because our time. We do not want to be of those who are going to cry at the end of it. We want to be of those who are going to cry at the end of the month of Ramadan, because there's no more moments that we can fill with good and with khair and with things that inshallah ta'ala will earn us the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So socializing, looking at limiting, what are we doing simply for socializing? And then increasing in terms of our remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is of many forms. It's not simply that we are sitting with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or not just making adhkar and tasbih and reading awrad or whatever. It is also for us to have moments of pondering about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we could not even be engaged in dhikr that is on our tongues, but our heart can be engaged in dhikr. When we are quiet, and normally you would say now, and a normal, the ladies when they're in the kitchen, or those who's making the food, and busy in the household. Now everyone's busy in the household and everyone's making food. Everyone's playing a part because we don't have. So now and you're busy with basic things, the heart constantly connecting to Allah, thinking about Allah, not about our dunya, not thinking about. So the fasting, we should some time to read up on how the scholars explain the different levels of fasting. Imam al-Ghazali specifically speaking about that special levels of fasting, the fasting of the elite, fasting of how normal people fast, in the fasting of the elite, and in the fasting of the elite of the elite, those who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and maybe see what it is, how they disconnect themselves from absolutely everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's not a moment that their heart is not connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the point I'd like to leave us with is so we mentioned decreasing in terms of socializing and increasing in terms of our dhikr with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we just explained briefly that the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't necessarily mean La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah whole day. It also entails having our hearts remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even though our tongues are silent. We could be busy with a basic thing at home and our hearts is constantly remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking about the akhirah, thinking about death, thinking about being questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking about our actions, thinking about our lives, connecting it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then it is important for us to increase in the recitation of the Holy Quran. And we've mentioned this before, but this is the month of the Quran. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. شهر رمضان, the month of Ramadan, الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is the month in which, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says anything else, after he says شهر رمضان. That's all we know now, the month of Ramadan. الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. It is a month in which the Quran was revealed. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. This month of ours is the month of the Quran. This is the month where we connect to the Quran. And what is the Quran to you and I? The Quran to you and I is the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, our nourisher, our sustainer. And we shouldn't be connecting with the intention of it's Ramadan, I'm going to see how much I can read for the month of Ramadan, or I read my khatam, and then alhamdulillah. Let us connect this Ramadan with the intention to remain connected and to only increase in connection after the month of Ramadan. So imagine how the engagement with the Quran must then be. Picking up the Quran, not as if it is a connection that I just need to do now and then I'm going to leave it. We need to invest ourselves in that. We need to connect to the conversation happening in that. So I give you an example. Sometimes you meet people for a specific reason, right? You have a meeting with someone perhaps. And now, this meeting is just for a specific thing. And in the conversation that you're having and the connection is limited to that time and that space and that objective. So the time and space is used up and the objective is achieved. But when you meet somebody, or when you spend time with somebody who your intention is that this person must remain a family member, spouse, friends. Alright, just yesterday I was connecting with one of my friends, and you find that the conversation is one that it doesn't want to come to an end. But when you're in a meeting, or when you connect with someone for a specific reason and a specific time, like you say, okay, the meeting is from 2 till 3. Come 3 o'clock, then everyone becomes edgy, like the meeting's supposed to be over, and even though you enjoyed yourself, or it was fine and you were engaged and everything, but when it hits a time limit, now is it like, okay, I need to be in a different space. Because this in my mind, I just gave this time. The minute we run over that, problematic. But when it's someone that you intend to keep in your life, when it's someone that you've chosen to make a part of your life, then the conversations can run. We end up hours and hours socializing. We end up never wanting to go home. There must come up a reason. It's like, I'm tired now, I'm rather going to go home. Or, okay, you need to get back to work. Okay, this, okay, that. So the intimacy in building a connection is different when the intention is long term. When the intention is long term. So that's important for us to have in mind when we're connecting with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during this month of Ramadan. That is not, I'm now building it's Ramadan, I need to spend time with the Quran. Because 90% chance is that if that's the intention, then at the end of Ramadan we're going to leave the Quran. But if the intention is the month of Ramadan has come as the month of the Quran, this Quran is going to now, I am going to reallocate the space in my heart because I've allowed other things to creep in. I'm going to reallocate the space in my heart now for the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that it can stay with me for the rest of my life. Be my companion when I leave this world. Be my companion in the grave. Speak for me on the day of Qiyamah when I will not even have answers for my Allah. When I'm not able to answer about the way I spent my life. That I have this companion with me to say, Ya Allah, when others was asleep, He was spending time with me. When others were busy with the dunya, He was busy with me. Imagine in the Quran the words of Allah speaking on your behalf on that day. May Allah grant us the intercession of the Holy Quran. And if we receive the intercession of the Holy Quran, don't we think that we will receive the intercession of the one who the Quran was revealed to, Muhammad alayhi wa sallam. May Allah grant us His intercession on that day, Rabbil Alameen. So to intimately connect with the Book of Allah. So to increase in our recitation of the Kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With the intention of connecting intimately for the rest of our lives. So a practical way to do that, if we look at the previous 2 classes, to have the intention to never let go of the Quran again. Remember we said we must intend to be different. What does different mean? We must never ever let go of the Quran again. Our beloved teacher, Hafiz Sheikh Ismail Lont, he would tell us that the moment you've attained a verse of the Quran and Allah has granted you a verse of the Quran, it's not that you want to be different, but you just can't be the same anymore. Because Ahmad, without Quran, and Ahmad with Quran, is you're not. Whether you're acting differently or not acting differently, regardless of that, you're not the same. You can't be the same. Because you're now carrying the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has granted you a portion of that nur. We mentioned in the previous classes, Allah made this Quran, وَلَكِنْ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُورًا. We made it a light. You're carrying a portion of that light. It's our choice if we're going to benefit from that which we are carrying or not. Like the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes in the Quran, كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ يَحْمِلُ أَسْفَارًا. Like people that have knowledge and they don't act on the knowledge. This is an example of people that have knowledge and don't act on the knowledge. It's like a donkey just carrying books. He can carry the best of books, but it's not going to benefit him at all. Not accessing the knowledge, not interacting with it, not applying the knowledge. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant that this Ramadan we build an intimate connection with the Quran. So now when we say that we're going to increase in our recitation, increase in the reading of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it needs to be applied in light of the previous 2 classes which told us what? We want to benefit by it, have the intention, we never want to be the same. So we're intending to read Quran. And every time we read Quran, we intend that this is the start of a lifelong relationship. Not reading the Quran because this is my juice for the day. This is the start of a lifelong relationship. This is the start of adding something to my day, which is going to be my dosage of nur, my dosage of purification for my heart, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our hearts are being cleaned and purified. The hearts with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets purified and cleaned. So we're going to be Allah ta'ala like throwing our hearts into the washing machine this month of Ramadan. So reciting the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and having that intention. The second lesson we spoke about was planning. So plan. We can't say, okay, for today I'm going to read it. By what time, when, how much, how long. And you ensure that all the things that are needed for you to do the recitation the next day is not in place. You're most likely not going to recite it. Wallahu a'lam. Myself included. If you know, okay, tomorrow I need to be doing this at this time. What other responsibilities do I have? Oh, okay, you know what? I have to be with the kids. Okay, let me rather move it to this time. Okay, shift it to this time. Okay, so that time when I shift it over there, but I might be and take a nap first and then a short nap for maybe a couple of minutes. And then after that time, get the start dinner. Then you pinpoint the ideal time in your day that I'm not going to miss it. Bismillah, there we go. So my partner will be busy with the kids, or I'm done with my homework, or this, So for everyone, it's going to apply differently, obviously. In my aspect, I have to look at, okay, so do I have the responsibility of the kids at that time? No. Okay, am I done working for the day during my work? So okay, I can recite a bit over there. Okay. So everybody, you need to look at your circumstance and be realistic. Don't say, okay, I'm not going to work, I'm not going to this, I'm not going to that. If you need to, if you're required to. I mean, if you're employed, you have a choice. Time doesn't belong to you either way. You have to give that time. So, okay, in and around that, how do I work? And I'm going to be tired because of that. Okay, so how do I adjust? Do I maybe go to sleep a bit earlier, then do this, then do that, whatever. But if we do not specify and we're not precise, then we are likely to miss it. There's a saying that goes, any day you choose not to plan is a day you've chosen to waste. Any day you choose not to plan is a day you've chosen to waste. That's the deal. Go to a shop without a shopping list. How likely is it you're going to waste money? Because you don't exactly know how much you need and whatever, and do I need this, don't I need that, whatever. And if you're not wasting money, you manage to figure it all out there in the shop. How much time did you waste? Because what you could have figured out before, you're now walking around in the shop trying to figure it out, which means you're wasting time. So in essence, you're going to end up wasting. Why? Because of the lack of planning. But now you sit down and say, okay, listen, I've written some things I need from the shop. You pass it on to your spouse or whoever, and you say, listen, can you just check if everything is here, and if you need anything, also add it, because I'm going to be going at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock comes, you take the list, you walk in by the shop, you get your things, you walk out. Nowadays, it's even easier, just walk in, you tell someone, I need all these things, they get it for you, and then you move. So, important for us to understand, planning. If we don't plan, we end up wasting. Don't plan our time, we're wasting. So, planning to ensure that we're able to increase and add and so on and so forth. Important for us also to understand our Salatul Taraweeh. And again, this requires some preparation. So now, what would have been, and tonight I'm going to bring a slightly different angle to this, and I hope this angle is appreciated. It's just a point of perspective. It might not. The point I'd like to bring across, Taraweeh. We cannot be making Taraweeh outside of the month of Ramadan. This is specific to the month of Ramadan. Right? 20 rak'ah after the Isha. Now we're making these 20 rak'ahs. So some points regarding this, just from a realistic perspective. Our intention should be to perform 20 rak'ahs of Taraweeh for the entire month of Ramadan. That's what our intentions should be. Okay? The thing I'd like to mention is that we should, to our level best, right? To our level best, try and fulfill it as if we would have been doing in the masajid. Now it's easy to do it in the masajid, or it's easier to do it in the masajid because we're gathering, the ethos, the environment, so on and so forth. But now that the masajid are not there, in terms of us being able to go to the masajid, right? Now that we don't have that freedom to go to the masjid, we find ourselves in our homes. And the setting might even be more intimate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this regard. But we need to try our level best to fulfill these 20 rakats of Taraweeh. So now, if it becomes difficult, right, then I invite you to look at the following, right, perspective. For a sunnah salah, right, it is permissible for you to sit even if you are able to stand. For fard salah, you have to stand if you can stand, right, to the degree that you're able to. Sometimes people can't stand, but they can stand for a little while. You still have to stand for that little while that you're able to, right? And then sit afterwards when you can't. But for a sunnah salah, one is able to sit in salah. Now, why am I mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because a night in the month of Ramadan might come where we're sitting and we're thinking, I can't now, I'm too tired, I'm this, I'm that, whatever. The encouragement firstly is to push and to keep pushing. Because the degree to which we push ourselves is the degree to, but without losing out on the benefit. Building a momentum, and we do not want to break our momentum, and we're not feeling too well. So standing for 20 rak'ah. then instead of leaving out the Taraweeh, I'm saying when you're at the point where then sit and make the Taraweeh. Right? How do we sit? The best way to do that is to sit in what is known as the Jalsatul Iftirash. Right? Which is the Jalsa of Salah. So when you go to sujood and you come up, or your first tahiyat, how you sit in your first tahiyat, not the last tahiyat. How you sit in the first tahiyat, to sit like that. Right? So you sit on your knees, like you would sit in Salah normally, like one would do in the first tahiyat, and you sit like that, and you perform the ruku' comes, you go down for ruku', you just basically bowing, and then you come up for your i'tidal, and then you go all the way down into your sujood properly as per a normal sujood. Right? You go down and you make your sujood, and then you come up, and you make your sujood, and you come up, but still then completing. I must note here that the reward now is lessened. The reward of what you would have gotten if you stood is now lessened. But you're still not losing out on it completely. You're still not losing out on it completely. Right? And then the next I'd like to mention is that normally they would read about, some would read half juz, some would read a juz, whatever it may be. If it's not sustainable for us to do in our household, in our homes, to push for that juz, 2 juz, right? Because sometimes we're being led by the huffaz, and the huffaz, some of us recite for 10, 15 minutes, and then now we're trying to cover half juz, it takes us longer. Right? So the next thing I'd like to mention, if we are going to choose between pushing in the amount that we are going to read in the salah, trying to do a juz every night, or juz and a quarter every night, and possibly missing out a few nights, then rather read less. Even if we are reading, and I would like to make this clear to everyone, even if you are just reading Qul Huwallahu Ahad in the first rak'ah, and Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas in the second, or if you are reading Inna A'tayna in the first, or if you are reading Idha Ja'a Nasrullahi wal Fath, and in the second rak'ah Qul Huwallahu Ahad, and you do the same 2 surahs for all 20 rak'ahs, you still get the reward of your 20 rak'ahs of Taraweeh. So, every evening, if you are going to read and you only know 2 surahs, you read the one and you read the other one. Right? Because what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to us? فَقَرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Read what is easy for you. When you're standing up in the evening to make salah, read what is easy for you. So now we have the intent, I'm not going to miss my 20 rak'ahs. So I'm going to read a bit less, but I'm going to fulfill my 20 rak'ahs. Bismillah. There you go. And then also the other point to mention is that it's permissible to stand with a mushaf. If you're not hafidul Quran, to stand with a mushaf, no problem. Just obviously ensure the adab of that when we go down into sujood, right? To make sure our sujood is complete, we have to touch the ground with a portion of the inner part of our hands, meaning the palm and the inner part of the fingers. So a portion of it has to touch the ground. So the best thing to do is maybe just put a bench next to you, and when you go for sujood, you put the Quran down on there, and then you go into sujood and you pick it up when you come up. Other option, alternative option is if you're able to, you just hold the Quran in a way, able to place a portion of your hand onto the ground without putting the Quran down on the ground. Show a banky next to you, or a chair or something, and then when you go for sujood, you place the mushaf on there. When you come up, then you're able to pick the mushaf up again. All these things we're speaking about, plan in advance for this to be, the moment. If you're going to become thirsty, take some water with you and put it there next to you. So you can take a sip in between. Because you might to drink and then you're out of that space, and then it's a whole issue. Right? Use the bathroom well in advance. So prepare, plan to optimize and fit to the month of Ramadan. And now I'd like to leave you. Remember earlier I said that we're going to talk about some preparatory steps. And I'm excited I can do my 20 every night, because when it gets a bit tough, then I'm going to sit down. I know now how to sit down in the adab of sit, still complete my 20. I'm not going to miss my 20 rakahs in the evening. Okay, I might recite a bit less just to make it easy on my family. But we're not going to push in such a way. Like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لا تكن مثل فلان. Don't be like such and such a person. كان يقول فترك قيام الليل. He stands for salah once. The of this hadith is that one night he does the qiyamul layl, then the next night he doesn't. Then he stands up again, and then for a while he doesn't stand up again. But the Prophet I'm speaking about that consistency. There's other interpretations of the hadith. Wallahu a'lam. The important thing for us is, what are we going to do consistently with the intention to maintain in our lives after the month of Ramadan, as well as that in the month of Ramadan is akthar, is more, it's increasing, but to build that relationship. And then we are looking at these steps and these sustainable steps, because in this month, and just as we are preparing for this month, we have to prepare for it is Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr. Laylatul Qadr is a night of, it is the night that's khayrun, that is better, alfi shahr, that is better than 1,000 months. It is better than 1,000 months. So it's important for us to understand that as much as we are preparing for this holy month of Ramadan, we have to prepare for this night of power. We need to search for this night of power, night of the month of Ramadan. Ya Allah, grant me Laylatul Qadr. Ya Allah, grant me Laylatul Qadr. Ya Allah, grant me to witness this night, to be in ibadah in this night. To be in ibadah in this night. And Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he taught us, if you find yourself witnessing this night, then what should we say? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma innaka afuun. Allahumma innaka afuun. Kareemun tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anna. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are the one who is the most, you are the one who often pardons, and you are the most noble. Please forgive us. Grant us, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us acceptance. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us to witness this night. So the reason I'm mentioning this is that from day one, we are feeling a build up towards a burnout. And we burn out in the last 10 days when we're supposed to be pushing even harder. Then potentially we're counterproductive. Because the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he would come to the last nights of the month of Ramadan, then he would accelerate even more. He would be more active, more ibadah, more increase. So the important thing for us is like, I don't know, some of the brothers used to do long distance running, right? So I used to do long distance running in high school, and what happens is, so for example, you're going to do 4 laps of the track. The first lap you're running, you're doing what you need to stay in the race. You're doing what you need to stay in the race, but you know there's like a level that you're preserving. There's that level that you're reserving, and you're reserving it. You're preserving it, and you come to that last bend, and you meet the mark, and then you just flat out all the way till the end. So this should be this month of Ramadan. That first 10 days, flat out. Everything. Broken we must be. On the last evening of the month of Ramadan, we must be crying, broken to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to Allah, I gave it everything I had, to the best of my ability. I kept going, I got off track, I jumped back on track. Ya Allah, you know my weaknesses. Ya Allah, you know my circumstances. And in everything I did, everything I could. Whenever I messed up, when I remembered, I realigned, I reconnected, and I kept going, and I kept. Now I find myself broken after this month has passed. Oh Allah, please accept from me. This is the state that we must be working for. This is the mindset that we need to have. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability to take full advantage of this month of Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for myself firstly, my family, our community, the entire Isho community, and everybody who is listening in the Muslim Ummah at large, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this a month of Ramadan that we never forget. That this is that month of Ramadan that when we come on the day of Qiyamah, we are waiting, and we can look back and see that the khair and the barakah and the multifold of things came back to this month, this Ramadan. When that lockdown happened, it didn't slow our ibadah, it didn't slow our connection, it didn't slow our momentum. We took that opportunity, and that's the year we built our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we took our relationship to another level with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We built our love for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We read about his life during this month of Ramadan. We read about the lives of the Sahaba in this month of Ramadan. We increased our ability to recite Quran in this month of Ramadan. For those of us who can't recite, we've listened to so much. Or those of us who even can recite, when we're not reciting, we were listening to it throughout this month of Ramadan. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide and to protect us all. There are programs happening almost every hour of the day and night. So as much as we can, share those programs for one another. Here's a translation happening. Here's this. Alhamdulillah, I'm part of a group with my teachers. Alhamdulillah, fortunate to be part of the group that will be translating the entire Quran from cover to cover. From cover to cover, starting from the moment they sight the moon. If they sight it, if they don't sight it, we'll begin the moment the month of Ramadan begins, that Maghrib will start immediately. We'll choose number 1. And then from the one cover till the other for the entire month of Ramadan. I've seen programs where they're going to be reciting so that people can read along. I've seen programs of tafsir happening through the month of Ramadan, for discussing the attributes of Rasulullah throughout the month of Ramadan. Do as much of this as we possibly can. Now, if that is sustainable for us for the entire month of Ramadan. So again, to have that intention, to summarize all of the points that we've done in this 3-part preparation for the month of Ramadan, is to intend to benefit. Be deliberate about it. Ever be the same. Have an intention. And I know it's difficult, but all these parts of our lives, we must leave. So let's sit now and make that intention to leave it behind. Nafs wants it. Through Ramadan, our nafs is going to be weakened. We spoke of last time. Our nafs is going to be weakened because we're not eating, we're not drinking, we're not fulfilling those desires. We hit and we strike. So have that intention to never go back to the way we were. Have that intention to increase in good habits and good deeds, bad habits and bad deeds. And then to have that planning, which is important. And whenever you go off track, it's okay. I'm not saying we should plan to go off track. I'm saying if it happens that we're off track, it's okay. Readjust, realign. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is only looking at us in those moments and judging us in the moment that we are present in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regardless of your past, if you right now are present in this moment and you're forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, truly, you're seeking it, crying for it, longing for it, will receive it by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is oft forgiving, most merciful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy we can't even begin to explain. If we do all of our efforts, it will not even the beginning of the extent of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is our month. Make it personal. Make it your month. If you're a son to your parents, make it a month. Make it yours. Even though you have that relationship. If you have a spouse, still make it personal, even though you and your spouse have a relationship. So I know there's a family Ramadan, there's marriage Ramadan that we want to do. You know, in this Ramadan, this is what we're going to do with our marriage. In this Ramadan, this is what I'm going to build with my family. But still, what am I going to build with my Allah? What am I going to build with my Allah? And truth be told, if that is every other relationship within our lives, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to make the most of this month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to and witness the night of Laylatul Qadr in His obedience and His ibadah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from us all, inshaAllah ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of this 3-part series that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts this as an effort to prepare for the month of Ramadan and grant us the best of it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure all of the sick, to relieve us from this calamity that we are facing as a world, as a ummah all around the world. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to unite us as humanity and guide everyone to Islam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to unite us as a ummah, and that we can strengthen our bond with our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this Ramadan the best of our Ramadans. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the last of our lives, the best of our lives. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the best of our days, the day that we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala.